So we have 5 Poppy Playtime games right now, but there are still many questions from the previous parts that have not been answered. To be honest, although part 4 was quite satisfying, I still have a little lingering feeling about part 3 of this bizarre Toy Factory game. One of the things Nim game wonders about the most is, who is the one that truly attacked Kissy Missy at the end of chapter 3 of the game? That is one of the things I really expected to get an answer to in part 4. But absolutely no one was mentioned. So today, let's join Nim game in putting forward a theory about the real culprit who nearly broke Kissy's whole shoulder. Damn, well then, let's begin.
We are going to have so much fun!
For any of you who have forgotten why Kissy was injured, after the player defeated Catnap, or actually got lucky because the prototype handled it for us. As usual, we met Poppy again, just like in part 2. She did absolutely nothing and waited until we finished dealing with that whole pile of trouble before finally showing up. That much is obvious, because her purpose in bringing us here was also because of the player's special ability. Moreover, it is clear that the player returned to the factory with his own purpose too. So he definitely has to uncover every secret to the very end. At this point, Poppy finally revealed to us an event that had caused a huge shock. The thing that made the toy factory become chaotic and fall into such a strange and eerie scene. After watching it, Kissy Missy appeared at the large door on the left and helped us go down to the bottom of the room by elevator. Poppy told her that we would send the elevator back up for her when we arrived. But when the elevator went down, all we heard was Kissy Missy screaming and the sound of extremely heavy footsteps. Poppy tried her very best to go back and help her. The ending of the game ended with Poppy's scream. A very tense reveal up to the last second, making us unable to stop wondering and hoping that in part 4, this section could be explained, and the chapter ended there. But by part 4, after we had taken down several powerful monsters one after another, the story of who attacked Kissy Missy seemed to have gradually been forgotten. All we know is that the wound was truly quite serious, forcing Kissy to be bandaged heavily. And if not for that wound, perhaps her arm would not have been cut off when she tried to save us in the mines. I believe that mob games will not forget to explain this, but will instead hide it and plant it for the upcoming part 5. But either way, I still have a few theories about the culprit who caused this wound to her. But first, let's determine who could have done this. Isn't Kissy Missy portrayed as gentle and lovely, always smiling and never complaining about anything? A cute monster like that seems as if she would never have any enemies. So what could have harmed her so badly that it nearly broke her entire shoulder? To understand this clearly, we have to look back at the horrifying event that made the factory become so ruined. That is the Hour of Joy. The details in the tape show us one of the most terrifying moments in the development of the factory. When the monsters that were locked in closed rooms every day, tortured, and dragged out for experiments rose up to attack everyone. To them, this resistance was liberation, a revolution, and a joy of finally breathing the air of freedom. That is why the name Hour of Joy was born. However, after playing through all 4 parts, we understand that it was only a momentary feeling of satisfaction, because in reality, they were not completely free, but still had to endure the control of an entity called the prototype. Moreover, that was not joy for everyone, including the monsters. After the event ended, the monsters in the factory were forced to use human flesh as food, causing them to split into different factions. Those who followed the prototype, such as Catnap, Mommy Long Legs, or Yarnabe, became the bosses of the factory areas. As for the remaining creatures, they were either starved, captured and tortured like Dog Day, or more tragically lost their lives like the smiling critters in part 3. Kissy Missy and Poppy are members of the group that opposes eating humans. Or more precisely, opposes the ideology of the prototype. So more or less, Kissy Missy being attacked definitely has something to do with the forces opposing Poppy. Which here are the monsters belonging to the prototype side. Let's take a look at which forces they could be. And guys, here is a small note. Although you may have heard some of these theories somewhere before, don't worry, at Nim Game the analysis is super dry and super sweet. So there will be some very strange and fresh theories too. So watch until the very end of the video and leave a like and a sub for the channel. That would already be more than reasonable, right? The first theory. Huggy Wuggy was the attacker. If this video had been released a year ago, many people would definitely have been very confused. Because Huggy clearly fell down right from part 1. But now 4 parts have passed. The evidence of Huggy Wuggy's survival is becoming clearer and clearer. Especially when he appeared in part 4. One of the most recognizable features is the sound we heard. It really sounded very similar to the scream Huggy Wuggy made every time he chased us in part 1. It is very possible that sound belonged to that blue creature. Because Kissy Missy seems to be mute and we have never heard her scream or cry out. At the end of chapter 4, we also personally saw Huggy bandaged up and rushing toward the player in a very aggressive way. This makes many people believe that Huggy was the one who caused the attack on Kissy and also received serious wounds himself. But this theory is not very plausible either. Because as I have mentioned in many videos before, we are not sure whether the Huggy we saw at the end of chapter 4 was real. Because as soon as we stepped into the laboratory area, a cloud of red smoke flew into the room. Don't say the player has never experienced that kind of gas before. It can easily create hallucinations. And especially hallucinations of the blue Huggy that has always haunted the player throughout the entirety of part 3. So who knows? Maybe that Huggy was only imagination and hallucination. In addition, in the music video Sleep Well by CG5, although we do not know whether it belongs to the main universe of Poppy Playtime or not, we can see that Kissy and Huggy have a very close relationship. Even in Elliot Ludwig's office in part 2, we also saw many images of Kissy and Huggy being extremely close to each other. So the idea that Huggy attacked Kissy out of rage is quite difficult to happen. The second theory is Yarnabe. In chapter 4, when Kissy was brought to the safe haven area, we had time to observe her wound. It was quite complicated, but notice that there were a few bite marks that looked rather round. Coincidentally, in part 4, we have a monster with teeth like that. And that is the rainbow mop creature. And honestly, it really is a heavy class monster. If not for the main character's aura, I swear the player would have had a hard time escaping the pursuit of this lion. Sharp teeth, speed, and the strength of a bigger body that is on the same level as Kissy Missy. It cannot be ruled out that it could easily launch a surprise attack and cause the pink lady to take considerable damage. However, this theory runs into a small loophole. Because Yarnabe is usually locked up on floor 4, where the elevator we were taking was heading down to. If it was Yarnabe, then it would have had to be on floor 3 before we even managed to go down. That sounds a bit awkward, doesn't it, guys? The third theory will make your brain explode. The culprit is Catnap. No, guys, you did not hear wrong. It is that purple Catnap. Why do I say that? Because in countless videos I have made before, the suspicion that this purple cat is still alive has always been one of my concerns. Because it is not like a powerful creature like that would just die instantly from being stabbed once in the neck. Remember that at that time, Catnap was in extreme pain because the red gas causing the burning was still continuously leaking from the monster's neck. And right then, the prototype appeared and slowly stabbed straight into the cat's throat. But what if that was actually the way the prototype disabled the burning gas for the cat? Looking at it practically, Catnap is extremely agile and a dominant, powerful entity. If it is still alive, there is a very high chance that it suddenly attacked Kissy, and with its strength, causing some physical damage would not be too surprising. If Catnap attacked from behind, it would make sense. Another detail we can see is that Kissy's wound also has some black marks, like traces of a burn. That makes us even more easily think of Catnap, since it had also just been burning not long before that. If this theory becomes true, it is very possible that in the next parts, we will meet this Catnap entity again in a completely different form. The fourth theory, the smiling critters. In part 3, I almost forgot that there were entities that were truly hunting machines. And those were the small smiling critters. They are quite small, but they move in very large packs. These creatures may look cute and do not reveal sharp teeth on the outside. But touch them once and the player immediately gets to see the black and white screen. These things are even stronger than that 33 chop creature, the arrogant black one known as the Assassin Hunter in part 4 of Poppy Playtime. The footage recorded during the Hour of Joy also shows the pack hunting method of these monsters. when they do not allow their opponent any space to run away or dodge. And when hunger tormented them, it is very possible that they moved in packs and hunted regardless of who the target was. You saw how Dog Day was eaten until he was hollow inside. Kissy may be a monster with mid-level strength, but when facing a sea of monsters tactic and being ambushed unexpectedly, it is no surprise that she had to suffer many wounds from all directions. The fifth theory is the prototype. This has always been the theory that solves every problem. This final boss may even carry Lao nationality, because whatever it does can be blamed on it. That is fair enough, because he is too mysterious. Nimb Game has made dozens of analysis clips and still has not fully understood all of the content. We personally witnessed how quickly Catnap was skewered like grilled meat. Just one stab and he was sent straight to heaven. So the physical strength of the prototype is beyond dispute. But a final boss having to do everything by hand would be too simple. The prototype possesses far more groundbreaking abilities than that. One of its most overpowered abilities is its mind-breaking technique, being able to psychologically manipulate all kinds of toys. Poppy also seems to have a similar ability, which is why every time we fall down, a line of text appears in our mind. It is very possible that this is evidence of an indirect form of communication carried out by the prototype. He would not need to show his face at all. He would only need to manipulate Kissy psychologically, making her go insane and harm herself, causing the wounds on the pink creature's body. That could work too. That also seems to be the way the prototype manipulated the blue Huggy. When we saw the blue creature looking extremely cute before those sharp teeth were revealed. However, if the culprit who caused Missy's wound is still the prototype, then it seems the title of this Lao final boss will continue to belong to the prototype for a very long time. So let's move on to the final theory. The culprit is another attacker who has never appeared before. In one conversation, Poppy said that Catnap was the final obstacle placed by the prototype. But it seems she overestimated the purple cat's ability and forgot that there are still other powerful creatures out there. By part 4, we met quite a lot of new characters beyond imagination. From large-sized toys to small-sized toys. Even robots. So if Kissy was attacked after that, could it have been a new character appearing outside of the characters we already know? Of course it could, because in part 4, we learned that the heavily protected areas before that still seemed to be nothing compared to the laboratory. So the existence of even more dominant bosses is not unreasonable, guys. But whatever the case may be, I know one thing for sure: Kissy, and perhaps even Poppy, already know exactly who attacked this pink toy. However, even if you forced her mouth open, Kissy would never say a single word, because she is mute. And on top of that, the player himself is also mute like Tianming growing black myth, Wukong. So how are we supposed to ask? But of course, Kissy really likes drawing, and we could completely ask her. Yet there is not a single clue drawn out at all. Why does she have to hide it? Or is there some force forcing Missy not to reveal the truth? Perhaps we will have to wait until the next part to be able to answer that. And while waiting, remember to hit the like and subscribe buttons for Nimb Game, okay? That will give us more motivation to make more videos for the next parts. See you.